Hi everyone, it's Taylor with Tragically Beautiful Makeup. Welcome to my channel. I can't believe I have a channel now. This has been such a work in progress for me. I have invested so many man hours, dollars, everything into making this happen, and it's so important to me. Like, I can't even explain how excited I am to be doing these. Today I created this look, which hopefully you guys can get a good view of. Let's see. Hopefully you guys can see that well. I'm not sure. My viewfinder looks so different from my camera, it's hard for me to know. But I just wanted to take a minute and say, for everyone who's watching this, like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have been wanting to do this for so long. I am, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a freelance makeup artist in Northwest Arkansas. I love what I do. I love my clients. And more than anything though, I love creating beautiful looks and teaching people about makeup and how to do makeup and how to create looks they might see on Instagram and think, I'd never be able to do that. But yeah, you can. You can do it. And the look today, this is such a simple, easy look. It's nothing major. For those that know me, know that I like big, bold, wild looks, and those are coming. But to start my channel off, I wanted to do something very simple and achievable and something that really anybody can do given the right knowledge. So I hope that you guys like it. It's not gonna be perfect. I've got a lot of work left to do. I've got a lot of practice left to do as far as my editing goes, and just in general learning the ins and outs of this. But I thought, I've put it off long enough. It's been highly requested and I'm going to do it. So I really hope you guys like it. Please, please, please subscribe, like the video, turn your notifications on so you can get more. I'm gonna be consistent and I'm gonna film, and I'm really proud to be doing this. It's a huge achievement for me just to be doing this. Even if I only have 10 subscribers, and by the time it's all said and done, I'm still, I'm still gonna be proud because I've worked really hard. So just thank you for watching and clicking on the video just to watch it. So if I don't know you, again, my name's Taylor. I freaking love makeup. I am a little bit sassy. I just am who I am. You love me or you hate me. And I'm just here to do good makeup and teach people how they can achieve the same. So if you like this look and you want to learn how you can do this, just keep watching. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you guys. Okay. I'm recording. I just got I got immediate stage fright. Okay. So to start this, we are going to be using the Morphe palette. It is the 35V, the Stunning Vibes. I'm going to first go in to this shade right here. I don't know if you can see it, and I'm sorry, my palette is a little bit dirty. It's been very loved. If this video is like remotely a hot mess at first, you have to forgive me. It's my first YouTube video and I really don't know what I'm doing. So anyway, I've already got my eyebrows done. As you can see, I've already got partially done with this eye. I kind of just wanted to see where I was going with it and kind of cut down on my recording time by kind of finishing one eye and letting you guys see where we're going to be going with this, and then starting over here. So the first thing that I do, I have two methods for how I do my makeup, and this is a super simple, super easy look, and it's really something that anybody can do. But I wanted to do the simple route first. So when I'm doing a simpler look, it's not got as much detail, things like that, I always just set my eyes with my concealer. And any of my clients or anyone that's worked with me knows that I always set with the Tarte Shape Tape. People are usually really familiar with this product. A lot of people use it. I'm using the shade Light. So I just go And I just tap a little on the lid. I've already carved out my brows. And I'm just using a dry Real Technique sponge. There's nothing on this before I started using it. Alright, so that's good enough to start. One of my first steps that I always do, looking a little wild over here in my corner, huh? Is I always, when I'm doing a look where I'm using my base as a concealer, I always go lightest to dark, and then I'll kind of go back in and do touch-ups after. So I'm going to start out just to kind of set the top portion of my eye where my brow is. I'm going to go in with this, if you can see it. It's this lightest shade of this palette. It's almost like a skin color, if you can see it. My camera's not wanting to focus, but it's a skin color shadow. Just kind of a neutral tone. I'm using a Morphe M513. It's just a kind of a basic blender. This one's probably about ready to be retired, but for this it does the job. So I just put a little bit of that on my brush, and I just kind of start swiping that on the top portion by my brow. And I'm really just doing that so that it creates kind of a not so tacky of a base to really blend that shadow up towards the top of my brow. My second step here is I'm going to go into this shade right here, and I don't know the names of these, but it's a little bit darker of a shade, and it's almost got kind of a mauve-y tint to it, because I'm actually going to be going in with a kind of a deep purple. So I'm just starting right on top of my crease, and I'm just doing little circular motions and blending it up towards my brow. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and if I want it a little darker, I'll just go and pick up a little bit more product. And this is really just getting your base started. 9 times out of 10, your makeup is gonna look really weird before it looks good. I've got this base laid down. Looking in my mirror, I can see a little bit of a subtle difference, but that's okay. It's not really about those shades necessarily being the prominent shades coming through. I'm gonna go in now with this dark mauve purple. I don't even know how you would describe that color, but I'm gonna use my flat Morphe brush. It's an M167. It's, as you can see, I've already used it. It's just this flat little brush. You could use it for really anything, but if I'm doing a solid shade on my lid, I kind of like to use it to place that shadow. So the shadow on my lid is still going to be a little bit tacky because I haven't set it, and that's what I want. So I'm just kind of patting. I'm not taking it up too far because I'm going to get my blender brush out in a minute. And this doesn't really have to be perfect either. We're kind of just getting a foundation and getting that lid covered, ideally evenly. Now I'm going to take this, it's just a little hair lighter than the one I placed on my lid, and I'm gonna use the Morphe M506. I love this brush. It's like a little blender brush. It's super tiny. It's perfect for getting up in the crease. I'm just gonna start in the middle, or even out on the edges, really. Doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna start really blending that upwards. And as you can see, this looks a lot darker than this, and it's because it'll get diffused. I'm really just working on getting that color evenly diffused up towards my brow. I'm really kind of working in small sections. So as you can see, I've got that brought up just a little bit more into my crease. Hopefully you can see that it's not blended out great, and nothing like, it's not going to be perfect yet. So I'm going to take a different brush, and I think I'm actually going to use my Morphe, it's my Jaclyn Hill brush. It is a JH34, and I'm going to take a little bit of that lighter color that I use as a transition shade, tap it on, and just really work on starting to diffuse even more up towards my brow. And I'm starting right where you saw that edge, where that other color stopped. I'm just gonna work in really small motions and work on blending all of that up. So as you can see, we're already starting to get that melted kind of ombre effect going up towards my brow. So I'm gonna go take just another Morphe Fluffy brush. It's one that I had originally used, the M518. I'm gonna grab a little bit of my original lightest transition color, which was the skin toned, and I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that on my brush, doing little circular motions and bringing that up almost to the very top of my brow. You know what I'm trying to say. You feel me? And see, you can see where it's really starting to diffuse, because the last thing that we want is when you're doing makeup, that is like the #1 no-no. Don't want harsh lines, we don't want lines of demarcation. It's just not cute. So we're gonna learn how to avoid that, and it takes some time and it takes practice and it takes the right brushes. I don't really know. I haven't used a lot of like the drugstore brushes. I mean, I know e.l.f. has some that I've actually heard pretty good things about. But really, as long as you have a brush that is made to do that job, you should be able to get a pretty smooth blend. Morphe brushes are relatively inexpensive and I love them. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of that, just a hair darker transition color, that mauve neutral, and I'm just going to really kind of start blending that into that other transition shade just a hair. I'm not too worried about it just being 100% perfect because I'm gonna put some glitter on top anyway, so you're not gonna really notice if it's not 100%. And that's a really good way for beginners to, if there are any blending flaws or anything like that, putting a little bit of glitter or a little something over your shadow will really kind of cover that. Right now I'm going back in with that brush that I had the darker shade on, the M506, and I'm just kind of reinforcing that transition through my darkest color to my lightest, and I'm just very lightly doing circular motions on my eyelid. I'm not pressing hard. I'm literally barely touching the skin. And blending is a process. It's not fast. I mean, a lot of people struggle with makeup because I think it's a quick process, and there are quick makeup looks. But when you want a really smooth blend that's really nice and ombre out, I mean, it's gonna take a little bit of time to get it just how you want it. Okay, so for now, I think that's okay. One thing that I'm notorious for is I will kind of start working on other parts and then I will kind of come back. It's almost like I kind of let my eyes have a refresher, and then I'll come back and adjust a little bit more. Because sometimes if I sit and I work and I stare at something for too long, it's kind of like I lose track of what I actually need to be working on. So the next step for this is I got this, actually my BoxyCharm this month. It is this month, what am I talking about? It's the Ace Butte, and this is an iced latte glimmer shadow. I really like this stuff. I used it on a client just the other day who I did a very similar look, if not identical look on, and I just pick a little of this up on my finger like this, and I just press that on to my lid, and I even kind of take it up a little, almost like, this is almost like getting Christmassy. Alright, so just kind of bring that up like that. There's really no rhyme or reason, like just however you think it's gonna look cute. For my next step, I'm gonna take the Stila, I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I'm sorry, liquid liner. I'm actually just waiting to get the Anastasia Beverly Hills. I really want to try their new liquid liner. That's next on my list. So this is a little felt tip pen. I really like these. These are great liners. I use them all the time. And I just do a little line across my lash line there. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm really only doing that to hide my lash band. So I'm gonna let that dry. While I'm letting that kind of set, I'm gonna put a little mascara on. This is the Tarte Big Ego. I got this in a BoxyCharm too, and I like it. It's a pretty good mascara. I don't usually get too crazy when I invest in mascaras because I wear lashes and my clients wear lashes, so just a good waterproof mascara if they want waterproof, which a lot of times my brides do. But when I get a nice mascara in my BoxyCharm, I always make sure I use it. And I'm just putting a little mascara on to kind of anchor those, the false lashes. The lashes that I'm gonna use, and I use these lashes a lot, they're the Allure Luxe Mink something or other. I really like these. They're like 15, a package is like 15 bucks at Ulta. They're great lashes. They last for a long time. You can use them several times. They're comfortable, they're lightweight. I really like these lashes a lot. And I've used high-end lashes. I've used, I've used almost every brand of lashes it seems like, and I really, really like these. The glue that I use is the Velour, I believe is how you say it. Anyway, the Velour. V-E-L-O-U-R, you can get it at Ulta. I love this lash glue. It's amazing. I've tried all the duos, I've tried several different lash glues, and I feel like this one holds up the best. I really like the applicator for it. It's relatively inexpensive. It doesn't burn my eyes, which a lot of times the lash glues do burn my eyes, and I'm not a fan. So I've set that and I'm just letting it dry. I usually let it dry, I try to let it dry for around 30 seconds. And during this time, I'll usually just kind of go back in and do a little bit more of my blending and take a second look. And I go pretty far up on my eyebrows, or I go pretty high up, like close to my eyebrows, really with any shadow. And that's just my personal preference. Not everybody probably likes that, but I do. So these are probably set good enough for now. I just take a little pair of tweezers. I set that right in the middle of my lash line. Then I take the corner and I kind of just place that just so, like I try to get it as close to my lash line as I can. Come over to this side and I'll do the same. So I always go in and take my finger, push the lashes up, and it kind of, in my opinion, just makes it look more natural, pushes the lashes down towards the lash line a little bit more. It makes them not look so fake. They also have little tools that you can actually buy that kind of pushes and clips the lashes together with your natural lashes. I feel like that's getting good and dry. You can still see a little bit of blue in the top, but not a big deal. It'll go away. I'm gonna take a little bit of my mascara, just kind of go over the top there, blend all of that together, and we're off to a pretty good start. Okay, so for the face, I'm gonna be using my MAC Studio Fix Fluid. This shade is the A39. I go back and forth. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this foundation. It's great for some skin types and not so great for others. In my opinion, if you got drier skin, I tend to notice, especially on clients, a little bit more creasing. Not saying that you couldn't use it, but I would just suggest really moisturizing beforehand, exfoliating, all that good jazz if you do have a little bit drier skin and you use that foundation. But as far as coverage goes, it's great coverage, no issues there. I'm using my same blender that I had earlier. It's damp. I use the Morphe setting powder and I just spray the top of my sponge. So I just take a little bit of this and I'm just gonna put it on top of my hand. A little bit goes a long way and I'm literally about out of this. I'm gonna have to get some more. All right, so just take my beauty blender. I'm gonna pick a little bit of that up. And I just kind of dab first. I'm actually gonna put my hair back like this to get it out of the way. And I just kind of place it first where I want it. Even gonna have to go behind the ears, old school. I have to get me some new hair clips. And I just start kind of bouncing that on my skin. And as you can see, that is pretty mega full coverage. I just go over the tops of my lips. I'll wipe it off later. Pick up just a little bit more. And when it comes to under the eyes, a lot of people don't like to put any type of heavy product under the eyes, and I can totally see why. And on some clients, I would avoid putting a lot of foundation, really, if any, under their eyes, especially if they're one of my more mature clients. They maybe have some fine lines, which I'm even getting some fine lines, but I can still pull this off. And sometimes I also feel like if you don't put the foundation under your eyes and you just start with concealer and blend it into your foundation, I've always noticed just a little bit of a difference when it comes to the shadows that are created with that, and I'm not a fan. So I personally bring it up under my eyes. I just try not to use very much. Just that's the last place I go. So if you can see, I just took my blender and I just kind of press down right there to sharpen up the edge of that shadow. Sometimes I don't do that. You know, sometimes I want kind of just a really nice, kind of smoked out, more circular shadow shape. This foundation blends out nicely, but it does dry a little bit quick. So just be aware of that. Always takes me a minute around my eyebrow area. You know, because I carve them out with my concealer, but I don't want any gaps. Okay, so got a pretty good base set down. I put a lot into my foundation, but at the same time, I use even a lot of L'Oreal products, even on my clients, because to be honest, when you're doing your contour, I use a lot of, you know, I use the Kylie concealer, I use the Tarte Shape Tape. It creates so much coverage, just really does a lot for the complexion. The foundation is important, but you can swing getting by with a really good drugstore foundation like the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow, which I have right here. I use this all the time. I use it on clients all the time. It's a great foundation and I love it. Really, you could go either way. You don't feel like you have to go buy some $40 foundation, $40, $50 foundation to have good makeup. If you can and you want to, do you, girl, but you don't have to. I'm gonna start out with a little bit of my Kylie concealer. This is shade, I think it's Bone. I'm gonna use this concealer and a little bit of my Shape Tape. So I'm just gonna place this. You can see this is pretty dark concealer for me, but it's gonna help cancel out my shadows. So I'm not putting very much because I'm also gonna be adding a little bit of my other concealer. So I just kind of put that, do some high points on my face, and I'm gonna go in with my Tarte Shape Tape in light and kind of just blend into that and create a really good pigment for me. I'm gonna take my brush, I'm gonna spray it again a little bit, or not my brush, my blender. And I kind of go back and spray these a couple times to keep them really nice and damp. And I'm just gonna start blending that in. Got I hear hairs. And obviously I'm gonna take this up to my eye. Get that nice and blended. And see, you can already see how well that works into the skin. How it really cancels any shadows, any dark circles. I always kind of just bring it just a hair down here. The concealer just about goes on your whole face. So, just keep that in mind. Alright, so next I'm going to use my Too Faced, this is the Born This Way setting powder. It's a translucent setting powder. I am the worst. I actually just recently got this and I really like it, so I am gonna use, this is just a little powder brush that I got in my BoxyCharm, God knows how long ago, but I really like it for setting my under eye and even really just kind of my whole face in general. So I'm going to open this up here. The packaging on this setting powder is a little bit unusual, but it looks great. So I have just a little bit on my brush. I'm just tapping that underneath my eye. I'm not putting very much. Powder is not always our friend, especially if you do have fine lines. I'm just bringing that over there and put a little on my chin, laugh lines. I don't even know why I'm really explaining which places I put it, because by the time I'm done I pretty well have it everywhere. I set right here. I'm not using any cream contour today, so I'm just gonna put just a little bit of my setting powder on my cheekbones so we don't have any tackiness when we do the bronzer. And I kind of always just take my fingers and feel, like, see, I could feel a little bit of a tacky spot right there. Kind of feel again. And I just kind of keep applying thin layers. Alright. So we've got that applied pretty evenly. I'm going to take my beauty blender and I'm just kind of going to put this all over. And I'm just really making sure that that powder gets set into my skin and really melts into everything. My next step that I always do before I start working on my contour is I'm gonna do my under eye. So for the under eye, I'm gonna take a couple of my little brushes here. I'm gonna start out with my Morphe E18. As you can see, it's just a tiny little buffer brush that I'll use. And I'm going to go in to that mauve transition shade that we had started with. I'm just going to tap my brush into that a little bit. Tap it off. I always tap my brushes off. I'm just going to start popping that on my under eye. I don't make a cute under eye face, so I apologize. And for this, you can do kind of back and forth sweeping motions. And since this is my lightest shade, I just kind of get a little bit crazy and just kind of bring it down a little bit farther than I would if it was my darker shade. My face. Look like I'm terrified for my life. Okay, so next I'm gonna take just a little bit of a smaller brush. It is my Morphe E36. It's getting close to retiring this little one too, but I love this brush. I'm gonna go into this darker shade right here that we used on the lid. Tap my brush off. And just kind of sweep that under, focusing more on the outer corners. And once I get all that product kind of worked off, I'll blend it into the inner corner just a hair. So you can probably see it's starting to get a little bit darker. I'm gonna pick back up my little fatter brush and just kind of blend that. All right. So next is kind of where you can make it a little bit spicy. I'm gonna take a tiny brush just like this. It is actually a M213. You can see how small that little guy is. You can see I've used it. I used it yesterday. And this is what I use to smoke out my under eye. So I use this Tardiest, I think is how you would say it. I don't know. You could really use any gel. And it's the clay paint liner. It's not bad. I like it. I don't know that I'd get it again, but I'll use it while I've got it. I just squirt a little bit of this out onto my hand and I just pat this brush just like that. I just kind of use my finger to pull down my lid like this. Just be careful if you've got nails. You don't want to create like a crease there. And then you can always use two hands. Just be careful not to poke yourself in the eye like I'm going to do if I do that. Pick up a little bit more. So we don't have to get too spicy, just a little. And I just wipe off that black cream liner. And what I will do is I will go in to any black shadow. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, the Alyssa Edwards. But I'm just gonna pick up a little bit of this black shadow that's in this palette and tap it off. And I'm just gonna set that liner. All right, so at this point, what I always do is I take my little tiny brush again, I go into my darkest shadow color, tap it off, and I blend that. Into my bottom shadow. What do you think? All right, so I'm okay with that shadow, I think, for now. Bobby pins have fallen out, of course. So I'm gonna take a little bit of my mascara here and pop that on my lashes. Ideally, I would like to use a smaller mascara wand for this, but if you don't have one, just be careful. Okay, so now for our contour, I'm gonna be using the Kylie bronzer. I'm gonna use the almond. The Toasty's really good too, but this almond's just a little bit darker, a little bit deeper shade, and I really like it, so it is so pretty. I am gonna take, this is just a little, actually this is just a brush I got my Boxy Charm, but I happen to really like it for my bronzer. And I also like this little dude. I use it, I actually have got almost all of my bronzer brushes out of a Boxy Charm. I'm just gonna start out with swirling motions. See, but isn't that just such a nice shade? I mean, and look at, can we just say, just take a minute, look at the bronzer side versus no bronzer side. Use your bronzer. All right, same over here. One thing that I really like about this bronzer is that you can build with it. It doesn't just immediately go on dark and cakey and weird like so many of them do. So now we are gonna go up through the temples here. And then this is where I might bust out my little guy here. And just really work on focusing that right through here. I mean, look how much more dimension is in my face already. Wild. And I just really always try to make sure I get it really kind of up there. We don't want any weird lines peeking through. Okay, get all my little flyaways. So now I'm gonna go in with the nose. I'm not gonna do anything too wild. Just gonna get the edges there. Go on the bottom, hit under the lip. And that will create just a little bit more of a pouty lip there. I'm gonna go underneath my chin, just a little. I'm not gonna do anything wild. My next step, I'm gonna take my setting powder again. I am gonna take, you could use the same beauty blender or a different one. I'm gonna use this dry beauty blender that I had used earlier. And I'm gonna just clean this up. And I always connect it to my lip, like where the crack of my lip is. See how that works? I'm going and cleaning up the nose contour a little bit, which we didn't do anything real crazy, so we don't have to worry about it too much. At this point, I always go in with a little bit of blush. And you can really use any blush and any brush. I just use this little brush. I like this brush for this particularly. This is the Estetica P12. I think I'm saying that right. I hope. I don't know. Whoa. So I'm using the NARS. And it is called Torrid. I really like this blush shade a lot. And I just lightly tap it. And I always am going to tap off any excess because a little of this blush goes a long way. So just be careful. And I just kind of lightly sweep it. See how that just kind of creates a little bit more of a nice natural fleshy color. Put a little right here. I just kind of tap it everywhere, to be honest. At this point, I feel like I have let this powder set really well, and I'm gonna use my powder brush. This is just a Real Techniques. It's a 201. I really like these for powder brushes, just for doing this like we're doing right now. It works really well. So we're just gonna brush this and make sure we get that line really good and buffed out. Gonna bring that all through there. And that is that. We're getting somewhere. Okay guys, so now we are getting really close to being wrapped up. I am going to take a little makeup wipe here and I'm just gonna wipe off some of that powder on my lips. And I will finish my lips up in a minute. But my next step that I'm gonna do after I put just a hair more, I think I want just a little bit more of this glitter situation. I hope you guys can really see this. You know, I'm still working on getting all my settings and everything just how I want them. So I hope you can see how really, like, how great and beautiful that glitter is. Love. All right. So I'm gonna take a little bit of my setting spray. This is the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. Probably got 20 of these laying around. Oops. All right, I'm gonna spray. Woo! Jeez. I get a pretty good little coat going on, okay? So, let that dry. I'm gonna get me one of them fans, you know? Let this get really good and dry. I'm just gonna use a little bit of, this is just an old Tarte palette that I got in a BoxyCharm that has a ton of really awesome shimmers in it. And sometimes, honestly, I use these as a highlight. I'm not gonna do a bold cheek highlight because I've already got glitter going on in the eyes and I don't want it to be too much. So, first thing I'm gonna start with is I'm gonna take a little flat brush just like this, and I'm gonna go into this lightest shade here. I'm just gonna pop a little bit of that right here, that center part of my brow bone where my arch is. We've already got a glitter situation going, so why not? I'm gonna pop a little bit on my inner corner. Yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of like a super bold inner corner highlight. Like I like it, but I have to be really in the mood. But I know it is a thing right now, so I'm gonna take the brush I was using for my transition shade, and I'm just gonna really blend that into that brow bone highlight there. Try to get that as blended as we can. I always set my face first before I do that because for some reason it just really makes the highlight pop. I'm gonna use a little bit of that same shimmer, and I'm gonna just go over my Cupid's bow right here, and a little bit on the tip of my nose. And a little bit right here. I'm gonna take my beauty blender. I'm gonna spray it one more time. And I'm going to just gonna tap over that really lightly. I don't want it to be anything wild or crazy. I just want it to be very subtle. All right, I'm gonna spray my face again. Whoa, okay. Now we're in business. I look nice and wet. I'm gonna take a little bit of my MAC shade, and it's called Yash A39. I'm just gonna pop that right here. This is my go-to shade. I'll always make sure I try to use other ones, but it is truly my go-to right now. I'm using this Steve Laurent lip liner. It came in my Boxy Charm. I like it paired with this. And then you can even take a nude lip gloss, really of any kind. Yeah, I like that lip shade. And you can even take your brush and kind of go and get those shiny spots out. And one thing that I always recommend is when you get done, take your blender, like the flat side, and just really melt all of that together. You could do that before you do your setting spray too, which I did, but I just did it off camera. So anyway, this is the completed look. I hope that you guys like it. It is super simple, super easy, something anybody can do, whether you're using drugstore products, whether you're using products from Ulta, Sephora, whatever. It is something that is achievable, I feel like, for anybody, as long as you have the right tools and the knowledge to do it. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Make sure you are liking and subscribing to my channel, and turn on your notifications, because that's hugely important. I really, doing YouTube in general is just a dream for me. So, and I really wanted to do it right, and I've got so much to learn, and I know that I've got a long ways to go before I'm where I want to be as far as my filming goes. But to all of you that are supporting me now, in the beginning, and helping me through this process, I love you guys. It's not overlooked, and it truly means the world. So, mwah.